How's it going, everyone? My name is Josh, and this is I bought a mic. I have a new guest on today because he actually saw one of my YouTube videos, and so how's it going, man? How you been?
Good, good.
So what? So I know I think I've talked to you a total of like once or twice in the motor pool, whatever, with asking questions. So for the record, what is your first name?
My name is Matt.
Matt. Nice to meet you, Matt. So my name is Josh, and then everyone knows my co-host Liam. So how old are you?
32.
32. Okay. Where were you born? Where?
Massachusetts.
Whereabouts in Mass?
Western. Was it near Boston?
No. So okay. Was it like a city, small town?
Small town.
Small town. Okay. So I grew up in a small town myself. You ever heard of East Brookfield?
Yeah, it's like right next door to where?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was saying. Like, what town was it that you actually grew up in?
Gotcha. Yeah, it's right next door.
Right next door?
Pretty much, yeah, like 2 towns over.
Okay, yeah.
There's Hardwick, I think, and then West Brookfield, Brookfield, East Brookfield. It's like 4 towns, but it's like 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Yes. Yep. Okay. So, that's different because I haven't really met anyone that's from like an actual small town. Everyone's either from like the city or like the Boston area.
The suburb.
The suburbs.
It's like that's Boston. Just say Boston.
Yeah, literally. But all right. So what do you do for work?
Truck driver. FedEx.
Truck driver for FedEx?
Yeah, like the local delivery vans, not like a 18-wheeler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How long? The box trucks?
Yeah, box truck.
How long you been doing that for?
2017 I started, so going on 8 years.
8 years. Nice. Do you like it?
It's good, it's challenging, physically demanding, so it keeps my ass in shape somewhat.
I was gonna say you're sitting down driving a lot, so.
No, in and out of the truck though, sweating your balls off.
True.
So.
Okay, so that's probably why it's helpful being a driver here too, because you're switching just from being a driver back home and then being a driver here.
Yeah, so when I enlisted, I scored pretty well in the ASVAB, so I could have picked a lot of different MOSs. I got a 61, so it opens up a pretty good number of opportunities, but one of the lowest skill sets was the truck driver, and I liked it because it was a 6-week AIT, so quickest one I'm pretty sure, and it complemented my civilian career, so I figured it was a good
choice.
Yeah, good choice.
There you go. Yeah, that's honestly probably one of the smarter things that I tell people, especially when they're trying to pick an MOS. Be like, okay, if it's something that you don't know if you want to do it, try to either pick the same idea as what you're planning on doing on the civilian side, or if it's something where hypothetically you want to change something on the civilian side, this is a nice step to go into the military and learn this job and be and then come back at it and be like, hey, I got so many months of experience with training with this. Can I do this on the civilian side? And a lot of people will hire us because we're military, and they favor that a lot. And they're like,
preferential treatment.
Exactly. So I definitely try to pick something that is relative to that, which is actually why I was just I'm a mechanic, so I'm going to be a mechanic in the military, and it helped me out a lot with that.
For sure. Like I said, it complements it, and I use the same term actually, stepping stone. It's a good professional career development stepping stone. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely. There's a lot of things that could have gone differently. I wish things were smoother and more organized, but overall, I think in the grand scheme of things, it was a good choice in terms of my professional development.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely helpful. Actually, I already hold on a second. There we go.
What is
now I can help a little bit better. I was just why can't I hear? That's a blooper right there. Oops. Did you see my blooper video that I did before?
What do the different colors signify, the green and red and whatnot?
So the colors are so actually let me introduce you and show you.
It's forward making out.
So
dark,
this
you know where it is.
so this option allows you to hear everything that's going on. So when you actually listen to the video, you'll actually hear all the everyone talking, the TV, the background noise. It's a very, very powerful microphone. So this has a mute button. So when I go like this, now all I hear is pretty much us talking.
So it's kind of like noise cancellation.
it's a noise cancellation.
Gotcha.
Yep. And then I have the option, which I forgot to click on, but luckily you're pretty loud. It's a double microphone. So I can talk into this side, and you can also talk into this side. So it's made for interviewing.
Nice.
Yes.
So what does something like that go for? I guess probably Amazon, right? A couple $100 maybe?
I bought this on Rockville.com.
The hell is that?
It's a whole site just for electronics,
Oh,
like
gotcha.
podcasting, musician, like
Yeah.
like microphones,
Like audio
stuff.
video stuff.
Yes. So yeah, I think I paid like $150 for it, or something like that. So, but yeah, now I'm gonna have to. Hopefully, I did hear you, but I had to push the button. I was just like, oh shit! I'm like, why is he so quiet? My bad. So hopefully you guys heard most of that. But so what was my next question? Now I got a little sidetracked. So how old were you when you joined the military?
26, about to be 27. 2019 I enlisted, so.
So pretty late.
Yeah.
Okay. What made you make that decision to join?
Well, it's kind of cliche, but a lot of the common reasons: family legacy. A lot of like both my grandparents served, both my grandfathers served, numerous uncles and cousins served, and I kind of wanted to keep that tradition going. My brother didn't serve, my parents didn't serve, but I felt like there was some obligation to serve. Beyond that, it's really cliche, but I really do love our country, so I felt like I needed to contribute in some meaningful way, and I'd like to think that I've done that, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel kind of like I haven't accomplished much, but I don't know.
Okay.
And also professional career development. The more I went into it, after I talked to the recruiter and signed the paperwork, I saw it more as a job than like a civil or civic obligation. I felt it was more just like a government job. So, but professional development for sure.
Okay. Got any questions? No?
I'm just listening.
You're just listening now? What made you choose the Army out of all branches?
In a word, persistent recruiter.
Persistent recruit. That's usually what gets you.
Because I did reach out to an Air Force recruiter. Everyone's always talking about how lax and the Air Force is. The quality of life is better. I don't know. We'll see. I plan to enlist in the Air Force after this contract is up. But I initially talked to a recruiter for the Air Reserve, and I forget exactly what happened. But I never ended up meeting with them, and it just kind of died a slow death. But then there was a very persistent National Guard recruiter for the Army, and it kind of all went from there. So.
Okay. I was told by many people that it's harder to get into the Air Force, especially with the recruiters, because a lot of the recruiters are very, we'll say, flaky.
Oh, okay.
So I have two friends that went Air Force, and they said that like everyone that I talked to was the same. They say that they're hard to get a hold of. They're not always looking for new recruits because it's not like the Army, where the Army will, try to get everyone that they possibly can within reason.
Any living, breathing organism.
More or less, yes. And then the Air Force is the opposite, where they're like, okay, we're going to be picky. You have to have this, this, and this. And then it's a challenge to get into the Air Force. And a lot of people I've talked to who are military, especially Army, everyone's like, oh, that's it, I'm going Air Force, And
yeah, it's almost like it's like the next step in the evolution of your military career. You go in, seems like you're like, fuck that shit, and you go to Air Force, or so you say.
Yeah, and it's just like you. I've actually talked to a couple people that went Air Force, and a lot of them, you get two mixed sayings with it, or two mixed feelings with it, I guess, because some people are like, oh, it's not much different, and other people say it's better, but it's not completely better.
Right.
So it's just like, but unless you've done it yourself, it's kind of hard to just accept what someone else feels about it, because who knows? Say you hate the Army, and then someone else loves the Army. It's just like, well, if I go talk to this person, they're gonna say one thing, and I have to go talk to you, they're gonna say another thing. It's just like, unless you experience it yourself, you can't really like go about it a certain way, I guess.
Yeah, and I almost feel like people set themselves up for disappointment because, like you said, everyone's just default response is, "Oh, I'll just go Air Force." But like once you're there, you have like this grand illusion of like it's going to be infinitely better and everything's perfect, and then you realize it's still the military. It's still going to have
The
its
military is the military.
shortcomings.
The only thing I've been tracking about the Air Guard and Air Force is they get a lot better pay than we do. They get the same base pay, but they
Really?
get a lot of add-ons. Like
kidding.
our barracks here would be considered
Substandard.
substandard, so they get an actual stipend for
Yeah.
living here. If they were going to like a Middle East and living in a freaking tent, they
Right.
get extra money. And so by doing that, that's where I've heard that it's better.
Well, that was to kind of point to like I said, like quality of life, and I guess more or less that's what I was alluding to. Obviously, there's still going to be organizational deficiencies, and things aren't going to like a hierarchy and things like that. It's a lot of inefficiency, but like the actual quality of life, the Air Force DFACs are better. There's no doubt about
They got
that.
tomatoes in it. I mean,
Right.
come on. And the salad bar.
we had a salad bar.
Kinda.
We did.
But the other thing about being in the Air Force is when I'm going to back up a second, just so when I was deployed before, they were in 6-month rotations.
Right.
Yes, I heard about that.
We're in like 9, I've even seen heard, but not seen, 18-month deployments through the National Guard back in the day.
Yeah.
So the quality of life of you're saying, yes, I 100% agree, your quality of life will be better. But
Yeah. It's not perfect.
exactly, nothing else.
I was thinking about it. As nice as it would be to have a 6-month deployment, and as I understand it, all the other branches do 6 months. Even Marines, I'm pretty sure, are 6 months.
Really?
I think so. I'm
I
pretty
don't
sure.
think so.
Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I think Army is the only one that does 9+ months.
But
But
National Guard.
oh, true.
Because Army actually, I've seen that they do about a year to 18 months, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Well, ours was ours can change because
Correct.
ours said anywhere between, I think it could go anywhere between 6 to 14 months.
Correct. But the also thing is we're bound by the state of Massachusetts to only be active for that year.
right.
Correct.
If you're going Army, you're federal. Fuck it, you can stay here
Right,
for 3
right.
fucking years for all they care.
Right.
Sorry for the language here. Your phone, I don't know if it's dead or what.
Motherfucker.
It's up. It's up.
Is it up? Okay.
But it's going from one branch to the other. There's no greener grass on the other side. You
Right.
got to take something and give something.
Right.
So I don't know if that makes
Well,
sense.
I think the phrase you're looking for is the grass is always greener on the other side.
It's not always greener on the other side.
Well, that
No,
is to
but
say
that's
it
the-
is
but his-
imperfect.
that's the saying,
That's
though.
his saying.
Yeah.
Mine is.
But
it's
like
not.
you can sit here in the Army and look at the Air Force and think that it's like all fine and dandy and perfect, but once you get there, you realize, there are certain things that, like you were saying, trading off. Like there's certain things about the Army that are perhaps better than Air Force, and so it goes both ways, I think.
I wonder if they're gonna get gourmet freaking meals like MREs.
I personally think it's all about your own perspective because, like I said before, you can't really judge it off of what someone else says because, in my experience, like you talk to people and they're like, "Oh, the Army sucks," and it's just like, yeah, it does suck, but you know what? To someone else, it could have saved their life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they could have been in a hard place, and they could have, this was a stepping stone for them in the right direction, and now they have a family, they have
Right.
support, they have this, they have that, where other people could have been like spoiled growing up and decided to do this, and they're like, oh, I could have done something better, it would have made more money in whatever cases. So everyone has their different opinions as far as where this could have went.
Well, I mean, just objectively speaking, there's a lot of bullshit you have to contend with, like as with any job. I
Every
feel like.
branch has.
Yes.
Every branch, every job, civilian or otherwise. But like the other day, I was thumbing around on the National Guard website and looking at the pay calculations. And for an E4, using my like time and grade and stuff, it was 6 years in as an E4, and it was something like total compensation was $80,000 a year. Excuse me, that was for active.
Okay.
For active, not National Guard. So assuming you're serving, not just on the 9-month rotation.
Right.
But the full year, you're in a 4-year contract. It's $80,000 a year, based on like a $2,500 BEH, which is pretty standard. And
That's Boston.
no,
that's where?
Essex County.
That's okay.
But like it's $60,000 to $80,000 depending on BEH. It's really good money. It definitely outpaces the civilian sector, especially if you're an 18-year-old. If they do a 4-year contract, they'll make more money in their 4 years in the Army than they would make in the first 10 years
But
in the civilian
true.
sector. So,
Yeah.
Not true, because in the real Army, they don't get BAH.
I was told they do.
Only if they live off base. And 90% of them live on base. If you live off base, you get it, but I believe you have to.
And I
be
think the
married.
only time they live off base is if they have a family.
But to be
Right.
fair, that's all tax-free income. So in the civilian sector, in that age bracket, you'd be lucky to pull $40,000 per year.
So-
and that's total compensation. That's not with subsidies and other tax-free income. So you're probably, in all honesty, living at home, but you're also making like shit wages. The Army will pay you double that. You're also probably going to pay more for housing than you would if you stayed in your small town. But it's paying you, objectively, it's paying you a lot better than you would otherwise earn.
So what I got told was about BAH is if you live off base, right? They give you BAH, but you can't use the DFAC unless you pay. They don't take the money. You know, like
What?
Because you can go home and cook all your meals and bring them in.
True, but again,
But then
if they're paying for your housing and you're still making $40,000, that's $40,000
In your pocket.
in your pocket.
Yeah.
You don't have any expenses, and I think that's where people kind of like don't take that into account. They're like, "Well, the Army pays shit." It's like, okay, but they're feeding you and they're housing you. So if you're making a $30 or even $20,000 base salary, that's just pocket money
Exactly.
because they're covering virtually everything.
and then they're buying the Charger, marrying the stripper. And
Well, that's where they go stupid. The 30% interest
Yeah.
rate and all the other nonsense. But yeah, true.
You know the one thing I wish they did at basic training was teach finance for this one reason.
Dude,
Like an actually
seriously,
down-to-earth
seriously,
finance.
So
I have.
they
I-
do now. I mean,
No, I took that one. It was not like the down.
well, it's not
and dirty.
necessarily thorough,
No,
but
they
they do mention it. They broach the subject.
They need to actually have a financial class and actually like make it so that. And I'm only going off what you're saying with all that. The $30,000 APR or 30% APR
Right.
is making the soldiers better, and that's what I'm thinking. They should have done. They should do something like that.
Yeah, but that's definitely something that we could
We have
bring
no
up,
control over.
like we could like bring up or where. Or,
But there's
you know.
also something to be said for fucking up, like in your youth, like when you're 18 to like 24. Like say you have a 6-year contract, make all your financial fuck ups in that time period because it's easier to recover from than never learning your lesson, being in like your 40s, going out and buying a midlife crisis vehicle,
and fucking yourself over.
like make the decision when you're young and dumb and learn from it.
Yes.
Some people don't learn that way.
This is true, but I also feel like some people with any semblance of intelligence would realize this isn't really good. I should probably learn from this. I like to think that's true.
You would like to. You'd like to.
Like it's like me personally. I maxed out a credit card when I was like 21. I like overcharged it, and it was like a $500 credit limit, and I was still living with my parents at the time. They were pissed that I maxed out a credit card, but in the grand scheme of things, $500 like easy to recover from.
Did they pay it off for you?
No, actually, that was when they finally put their foot down and said, "You're figuring this out for yourself."
I respect that on them.
And I do too, because that was when I realized, damn, with this
I
whole
need to take
myself
responsibilities
into-
for my own actions,
Yep.
and I'm not going to have a hand.
Right.
Yep. Okay.
So I'm not really big on handouts. It's obviously, in theory, it's nice to think, I wish somebody would just give me a bunch of money. But they've done studies on millionaires, people who win the lottery, they squander all the money, and then they find themselves right back in a cardboard box in the street. They don't, like, it doesn't teach them.
I
Sometimes
don't
worse off.
understand
Yeah.
how people do that, because it's just like if I won $1 million tomorrow, I'd fucking put that shit away.
Well, $1 million is not what it used to be. So you
True.
get $1 million, you might make $620,000 out of it.
Still,
And then they think, oh well, I got to
I
buy a
don't-
house, I got to buy a car, I got to buy this, I got to buy that, and by the